American tennis star Coco Gauff gives her thoughts on state of U.S. year into Trump's second term. Gauff is into the third round of the Australian Open. American tennis star Coco Gauff was asked for her thoughts on the state of the U.S. 1 year into President Donald Trump's second term at the Australian Open on Tuesday. Gauff had been outspoken against Trump in the past, but expressed hope for peace in the future. "I hope forward that we can have a lot more peace in our country and more kindness in the way we speak to each other about different topics and things like that," she said, via the tennis letter. "Obviously, I've been pretty vocal about how I felt. At this point, I feel a bit fatigued talking about it just because of the fact that it is hard also being a black woman in this country and having to experience things, even online, and seeing marginalized communities being affected. And knowing that I can only donate and speak out. I try my best to do that. But, yeah, I hope that as time continues that we can reach a state that we're not currently in, and we keep moving forward." I posted the video of Martin Luther King, and that was kind of saying, we must keep moving forward, even as things may not be as calm as I'd like it to be right now. Gauff last spoke about Trump after she won the French Open last June, saying the 2024 presidential election result was a down period. "I remember after the election and everything, it felt like a down period a little bit. My mom told me during Riyadh, try to win the tournament just to give people something to smile for. That's what I was thinking about today," Gauff said at the time. Despite the down period comment, Gauff said she is definitely patriotic. "Some people may feel some type of way about being patriotic and things like that, but I'm definitely patriotic. I'm proud to be American. I'm proud to represent Americans that look like me and people who kind of support the things that I support," Gauff added. She has made it to the third round of the 2026 Australian Open after defeating Kamila Rakimova and Olga Danilovic in her first two matches. Click here to download the Fox News app. Gauff will take on fellow American Haley Baptiste in the third round. Fox News' Scott Thompson contributed to this report, grounded in greatness. Coco Gauff's reflections on America 1 year into Trump's second term. At 21 years old, Coco Gauff stands as one of the most electrifying and influential athletes in the world. Her meteoric rise in professional tennis, winning multiple major titles and becoming one of the top-ranked players globally, has cemented her status not only as an elite competitor on the court, but also as a voice of influence off it. In recent months, she has made headlines not just for her athleticism, but for her candid reflections on the social and political fabric of the United States, particularly as the nation finds itself 1 year into the second term of President Donald J. Trump. In January 2026, during her appearance at the Australian Open, a tournament she regularly contends in, Gauff was asked a question that many Americans, especially those on the international stage, have felt keenly. How does she feel about the current state of the United States of America, 1 year into the Trump administration's return to office? Her answer was simple yet heartfelt, anchored in both realism and hope. She spoke of a longing for peace, kindness, and forward movement, sentiments that ripple far beyond the baseline of a tennis court and into the soul of a divided nation. A moment beyond sport. The moment itself was modest in scope. Following a commanding match victory at the Australian Open, reporters asked Gauff about her thoughts on America's condition under its current leadership. Rather than deflect, she chose transparency. "I hope we can have much more peace in our country and more kindness in how we talk to each other about different topics and things like that," she said during her press conference, her gaze steady and measured. In those few words lay not just a commentary on political leadership, but a deeper reflection on civic discourse, on how Americans engage with one another across the immense divides of ideology, race, and lived experience. Gauff admitted she felt a bit fatigued talking about it, not because she lacked conviction, but because the weight of discussing national issues constantly, especially ones that personally affect her, took an emotional toll. This notion of political fatigue is not unique to Gauff. For many Americans, discussions around governance, culture wars, media saturation, and partisan conflict can feel exhausting. But for Gauff, a young black woman propelled into the global spotlight, those discussions carry added personal resonance. Her platform ensures her voice carries, yet it also exposes her to the friction of public opinion and scrutiny from all directions. The context of her words before unpacking Gauff's viewpoint, it helps to consider the broader backdrop. 1. Trump's second term and national polarization. Donald Trump's re-election accelerated conversations about the direction of American politics. His tenure has been marked by intense debates over immigration, education, economic policy, and race relations, among many other issues. 1 year into his second term, these tensions remain palpable, and for many, the national discourse feels fractious and divisive. Coco Gauff, the call for more kindness and peaceful dialogue is not an abstract ideal. It reflects a desire for a civic culture rooted in respect, a far cry from the often contentious exchanges that dominate headlines and social media feeds. Point 2. A black woman's perspective. When Gauff spoke of feeling fatigued, she also acknowledged how hard it is to navigate these conversations as a black woman in this country. This speaks volumes about how political climates intersect with identity. Her recognition of this lived experience, the reality of facing prejudice, online harassment, and systemic challenges, is a testament to her self-awareness and willingness to articulate perspectives that many others share but few publicly express. Her candor resonates with countless Americans, particularly those from marginalized communities who feel the emotional weight of politics not just in policy, but in everyday life. Unity, kindness, and forward movement. Central to Gauff's reflections are three interconnected ideas: unity, kindness in discourse, and progress. Kindness in conversation. Gauff's emphasis on the need for more kindness in how we speak to each other is striking because it focuses less on politics as ideology and more on politics as human interaction. At its best, civic dialogue should allow for a spectrum of beliefs, but much of today's political environment feels hostile, reactive, and dismissive. Her call isn't about agreement on policy. Rather, it's a plea for civility, a reminder that people with differing viewpoints remain fellow citizens whose dignity ought to be respected. The hope of progress. When Gauff speaks of moving forward, her words carry a quiet belief that America is not static, that the nation is constantly evolving, shaped by the actions, decisions, and voices of its people. She acknowledged that where the country is now may not be where it ultimately should be. Yet she did not succumb to cynicism. Instead, she expressed faith, an athlete's faith, in forward motion.